intro.
Catlike Reflexes.
That was well done.
Actually, that wasn't bad.
Way to take control on that one, Drew.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Catlike Reflexes. My name is Bryan, and I am joined here by the PodCats, Derek, Nahanni, Drew.
Oh, wow.
I was going to say Derek again because it starts with D.
Yeah. No,
And
Derek only
Michael,
gets,
Surf Serafin.
yeah. Derek only gets one intro.
I know. I'm sorry, Drew.
We get the two. Just call me Howie. That solves everything.
There you go.
Don't tell me what to do.
Well, off to a flying start.
Yes.
And we're off
Welcome,
the rails.
everybody. We are still recording here. I'm still drinking. Just like the last two podcasts. I've been drinking for 3 podcasts now. Nahanni has opened another one with her lighter? Or did you use the bottle opener?
I'm from Port McNichol, you know.
Yeah? So you know how to open it with your teeth?
Fair enough.
Or your cleavage?
That too.
Bam!
I try to do that, and it doesn't quite work as well.
Yes. Not all of us come from Port McNichol.
Whatever, A cup.
Burn!
More like A-.
Conventions! Many of us have been to conventions, be they comic book conventions, Anime North, Fan Expo, conventions like that. Many of you listening to this probably have as well, or at least curious about it. We got you covered. We've been to lots of them in different capacities, and we're going to share some of our thoughts tonight about things that are very, very good and things that maybe could use some improvement. The cons, as they say, of cons.
Con!
I don't get that reference.
It's a geek reference. If you ever went to a con, you'd get it.
Nerd.
I don't know. I just watched Star Trek. So yes, Comic-Cons. Thoughts. Why do we go to Comic-Cons, by the way? What's the big deal? Because there's a lot of hassle. They're really sometimes crowded. They're kind of expensive, but we go to them. Why do we go? Anybody? Nahanni, why do you go? You go to a lot of them.
I do go to a lot of them. Just because it's a place to go with my daughter so we can get our nerd on and geek out.
Does she share the similar interests, or?
It's completely different interests from me.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can find stuff for each of us, and there's lots of forum, and there's lots of other people like us, and it's just a great place to be who you are. And
let your geek flag fly, as they say.
Flag fly. Yeah. So
right.
yeah, good times. I mean, we've had great cons, and we've had some not so great cons.
Yeah.
And I'd rather talk about the pros than the cons because we will continue to go to cons.
Yeah.
You know. You know, there have been some bad ones, but there have been a lot of good ones, and we'll continue to go and look for all the good stuff in the cons.
What makes a good con?
What makes a good con is some space. Yeah, I find the ones that are like overcrowded, oversold.
Yes.
Because there are a few cons out there, without mentioning any names, that oversell. And it just makes for an uncomfortable day and a lot of anxiety throughout the day.
Excuse
Who
me.
was that?
Let's say,
Who was that?
Let's just say they expose their fans to to quite a bit of discomfort.
You know, and those are the great cons. I mean, they have the big names. We had
but
a
you can't
number.
see anything.
But you can't see anything. We missed a whole section because we just couldn't get to it.
Yeah.
That's why I go to Fan Expo on Friday.
That's true.
The numbers aren't there.
Derek, I called you Derek again.
That's it.
Drew, shoot me with the Nerf gun.
Who are you? Who are you people?
Yeah, Drew.
I go. My
you
brother
go on Fridays.
My brother and I go on the Fridays because the Fridays are the quieter of the days. Because really, who's going to take time off of work to go to a convention?
Right.
Put up your hand.
I am.
I have taken time off work.
I'll go.
Yeah,
I'll do it.
okay.
But not. I know what you're saying, though. Yeah, I find I went to the last Fan Expo, which I don't know when you're listening to this, but that was 2014, and it was so crowded that, like, if someone had shouted fire, we all would have died. It was so bad, and it was so poorly organized. My pet peeve is the lines, not just that they're long and take a long time, but like they have all these rules for lines that you're expected to know, but it's not reasonable to think that you would know all these things. So there's usually a guy, and he's like, oh, if you're in line with a VIP pass, you're in this line. If you have the VIP plus pass, you're in this line. And if you have red hair, but you're not dressed as an X-Man. You're in this line. God, what's the matter with you people? Like, they expect you to know all these things.
Now, the thing with last year, it was the first year that it was run by a new company.
Oh, okay.
So, with that, you got to figure there is going to be some bumps in the road.
Sure.
Because it's a new company that took over. I can't remember the company name.
Sure. We don't need to...
But
their name is...
That's right.
Yeah.
Because before it used to be run by the people that... I think it's run now by the people that run the Wizard World cons.
Okay, yeah.
I think that's who runs it now, but it's all those things. You got to give them a year or two.
But 2 years ago when it was run by the old company,
Yep.
we had a horrendous experience.
Yeah.
That they were like controlling escalators downstairs to allow as many people downstairs as possible, but only one escalator upstairs in the convention center we were in,
Right.
because of fire regulations. And like you said, Brian, like if that fire had broken out, we would have made it because we were prepared for the zombie apocalypse. I just want to point that out.
Actually, of all the places, Comic-Con is probably where there are the most prepared people for a zombie
exactly.
invasion, with weapons and everything. But I see what you're saying. Yeah.
But you see what I'm saying? And they were only allowing one escalator upstairs, and we had a photo op upstairs. And, it was like 3 o'clock. Our photo op was like 4:50. We thought we'll start making our way slowly upstairs. We just made it. Because that's how they were controlling the fire regulations, but the traffic flow with the escalators. It was absolutely, and that was the old company.
Okay.
That was the old company,
And that was 2 years ago?
That was 2 years ago,
Yeah.
So it wasn't any better
Okay.
with the old company than it was with the new company. What bothers me is that I had pre-purchased tickets.
Yep.
And I had bought them online so that when I came, I could get in the door.
Yeah.
Well, they were
You had to go to the other building to get the tickets. Yeah.
And based on their capacity, I was getting in no matter if I had pre-purchased or if I was buying that day, which is completely unfair because
you prepaid for your pass just so you could stand in a different line. Like,
exactly.
What, do you stand in a better class of line?
You don't even because I remember meeting people in the food court who had pre-purchased with me. They couldn't get in until 2:30 because they had oversold at the doorway.
Saturday?
Yeah, it was the Saturday. Of course it was the Saturday. But the problem with the Friday versus the Saturday is that if you're there for photo ops, if you're there to meet the people you love.
Exactly. A lot of them aren't there on the
Friday. They're there on the Saturday.
Sundays.
Right.
Exactly. Yep. If you're there to do that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's why you go on the Saturday.
Exactly.
I would totally go on the Friday when there are fewer people there because, I'd take a time off of work and to go and do that. But, I'm there for the Saturday for the photo ops and for the meeting the people that I love, like the comic book the artists, the writers, the different celebrities. That's why I'm there on the Saturday.
Yeah.
Or else I'd go on the Friday, but...
See, that's the reason why my brother and I go. We, a lot of the people we want to go to, we know, okay, they're there Friday, so we make sure we map ourselves out what we're going to do.
Sure. You have to be organized, don't you?
Like this past year, he wanted to get stuff. Sorry, Ryan, I'm nerding out to you too on this. He wanted to get Dan Slott.
Because there's no other nerds in this room.
No, of course not. Or listening to this.
Yeah.
But he wanted to get Dan Slott's autograph, and he knew what time Dan was going to be doing his autograph session, which was closer to the end of the Friday. And there was, I wanted to meet up with a couple people from Rooster Teeth that were going to be there, but they were on total opposite ends of the hall. And so he's like, at first I went to see the line for the Rooster Teeth one, and he was going to stand in line with me. But the line snaked through the hall because they didn't have a spot for them.
No.
They just kind of went, well, Rooster Teeth usually has a booth.
Right.
This year they didn't, something came up, I don't know what, but they didn't get a booth. They just got the passes for their people to come in. So we were sitting... They literally just went, okay, we're going behind the Lego section. Meet us there. And so when I went in line to meet them there, the lineup was already snaking back down into the food court. And I went to Ryan's like, well, why don't you go? You got to go line up for Dan because he was already having his lineup. It's like I'll stay here, and we were there with our friend who was working in the Big B comic book booth. So we're just like, whoever's done first, we'll meet up at Big B because we have to help close the booth anyways. And so I got done my stuff first because there were selfies taken going.
There were some selfies going on here.
But I finished mine first because Dan was actually sitting there, was able to do what a lot of the artists like to do, is they'll sit there and talk to the people, whereas the Rooster Teeth girls, they couldn't. Because they had such a huge line. So it was literally come in, get your stuff signed, take a picture, okay, you gotta go.
Yeah.
And another convent, like, and same thing. We were talking before we started the podcast a little bit about stuff. One year, not last year, but the year before. So I guess 2 years ago, we went. Was it 2 years ago? Was it last? No. Yeah, 2 years ago. We were walking around the convention hall, and we were going past the celebrity signings. On the one side, it was Alice Cooper, who had all kinds of people standing around him. You know, you'd want to lift your camera up, take a picture. There was somebody sitting there swatting it away, saying, "No pictures, no pictures." On literally the other side of the alleyway was Hasselhoff, David Hasselhoff.
Yeah! Knight Rider!
He had a little bit of a lineup, but his handler was going, "Hey, you guys want a photo op? You guys want a quick photo?" My brother and I were like, "Oh, sure, okay, no problem." And the guy's, "Okay, stand right here." And, you know, David had finished signing and autographing for the person, literally turned around and went, "Hey, guys," and gave us the double finger point guns.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, he knew. Okay, they're here.
Rider.
Yeah, they're here to see us. You know, I'm not going to be a big ass like Cooper there on the other side, and I'm actually going to let people.
Is getting the double finger guns from Hasselhoff like getting a glass of wine from Jesus?
It's like getting an achievement.
Well, if you're German, sure. But then, like the other thing, I was a wrestling fan when I was a kid. That was the year Hulk Hogan was there.
Yeah.
So my brother and I had finished a panel.
So you're a little Hulkster?
I was more of an Ultimate Warrior fan. Not really a Hogan, but that's a different podcast.
We'll have to talk about that.
We can do that later.
Excellent.
All right.
Anyways, we were coming up from the panel, and all of a sudden we just heard, "Move aside, move aside." We're like, well, "Who's coming?" Because, you know, when that happens, celebrity's coming up to go do his autograph session. Here are a bunch of bodyguards around Hogan, and Hogan's and, "Hey, how's it going?" taking pictures and stuff. And so, like, my brother both like, "Well, let's see what's going on. Let's go see this." So we got up on the escalators, and we were maybe 15, 20 feet behind Hogan, and, you know, he's sitting there just having conversations with everybody. Like, he knows, you guys made me.
Right.
I'm going to be the biggest marks out to you guys as I can. And, like, that was the only year they did the sports. They don't do sports at Fan Expo anymore.
Right.
That was the year I was there and I had that bad experience.
Yeah.
Because I was there for Cooper.
Yeah.
I was actually there for Cooper.
Yeah, so like after that, they got rid of the sports section out of it because they expanded everything, and because now
Did you not find the sports section just a little too much for that event?
Yeah. Well, now they got last year they had a whole big section built out just for WoW.
Right.
So that's kind of.
I wonder who sponsored that. Do you know?
Now, speaking of celebrities at cons, I think most of us have met people at different cons. Anybody have any highlights of people they've met at cons? Surf, I know you have a particular story that I'm very fond of about meeting your favorite cast member of Space 1999.
Oh, yeah. I was actually had a great con in terms of meeting awesome people. Martin Landau, who when I was a kid in Space 1999 was the most awesome thing ever. I got a chance to meet him, and he was very generous with his time and didn't have the huge lineups that, you know, some of the other, you know, there's always like Brent Spiner and his lineup circles like it's a Mobius strip.
Robert Englund.
Yeah, you know.
Stan Lee.
Yeah.
So those, you know, it's always full. But he was really really awesome. And right in front of me, when I was waiting for my turn, the lady who was right in front was talking to him. Actually, was interrupted because another lady came up, and turns out it was Vincent Price's daughter. And I guess she and her handler were there, and kind of
She
came
was
up
like,
to...
"Excuse me.
Yeah.
I'd like to talk to you."
Yeah, I
That
wish
is terrible. That was a terrible impression.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'm not even going to say.
Peter
I
Lorre,
enjoyed it.
was good.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
It was really good.
So yeah, you
Anyway,
say-
but she talked to Martin Landau for a minute, and then she said, "Oh, I'm very sorry to have interrupted." And Martin Landau actually said, "Well, no, don't say that, because you wouldn't have done it otherwise."
Right.
And I thought it was kind of awesome that Martin Landau felt bad that this lady who had come to see him had her time with him interrupted.
Right.
And he cared enough about that experience
Right.
for that
Seems
that
like
person.
a real gentleman.
He was. In fact, one of the great things, he signed, I have an old Space 1999 magazine from the 70s, and he signed the cover for me, and he kind of wryly pointed out, he said, "You will notice I did not scribble upon Barry's face," referring to Barry Morse, who was in the series as well. And I said, well, I guess Barry would probably really appreciate that. And he had a wistful look and said, yes, he was a very nice man. But Martin Landau was a real gentleman and a great pleasure to talk to. Equally wonderful was John Aston, the original.
Yes,
and
I was there with you for that.
yeah, for me, the
that
only
was so
Gomez
special.
Adams.
Gomez Adams, and to me, I always remember him as
Buddy on Night
Buddy
Court.
on Night Court.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm feeling much better now.
That's right, yeah. That's my mantra lately.
Yeah, well, it's a wonderful performance. And, of course, he was Professor Gangrene in the second Killer Tomatoes film.
Ah, yes, that's right.
So, for those of you who like
and the
Killer
Riddler
Tomatoes.
one time on Batman.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway,
But he was also in his Q&A so full of vim and vigor and good humor and a really good outlook. But I did get a good chuckle when I asked him to sign the picture of him as Gomez for me to Mike. He's French.
Yes.
And he actually laughed quite heartily at the at that
awesome.
little request. Yeah, it's interesting because some of them, it's quite a it's quite an experience to meet people, and some of them the lineups are huge, and also the price point varies on autographs too. Now you do it anyway. We had a young lady who worked with us last summer who went to one of the recent ones to go and see Norman Reedus. She's a huge Walking Dead fan, massive crush on Norman Reedus.
Sure.
And she paid the $80 for a photo and a
$80
signature.
isn't as bad as what they wanted for Matt Smith.
Yeah, some of them.
We did the same for Jean-Luc Picard.
Yeah.
I had
who I
a
mean.
picture with Shatner. It was also very around the same.
Yeah.
The point is,
Matt
they know
Smith,
you're
they
going to
wanted
do it.
$150.
That is ridiculous.
And then sometimes some of the things we don't. I don't know for sure if it's the celebrity that sets the price, or if it's the company that sets the price.
I don't know.
So-
I mean, for a lot of people, like for a lot of celebrities, maybe that their sort of the heyday of their career has passed. Cons are a way for them to make some extra money. Maybe if they didn't get as good a deal in the day. But Matt Smith's doing just fine.
You can't tell me Matt Smith's in the heyday of his career. He had just finished Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So
now, Derek, I want to hear from you because we haven't heard from you yet. What's been your convention experience so far? Because I think it's a little bit different.
Yeah, I don't go to conventions to meet people.
Sure.
Or in the traditional sense, I don't stand in line at Autograph Alley for anyone famous. I did it once for someone I knew, and we saw Edward Norton, who was alone at a table, really sad and hungover, and no one went near him.
Why would you go and see him?
No one did. Not me. No one. Anyways, but
No one went to see Edward Norton?
I would go see Edward.
and he was
Why was
really-
he there? Like, what were they promoting
He's the
him as?
motherfucking Hulk!
Yeah, well,
and
he's
he
the
was
motherfucking
angry
Hulk,
and
but-
sad, and he was there. Anyways,
Fight Club.
Maybe he was too expensive.
So, anyways, I did go there 10, 15, 20 years ago, maybe, because, pardon me while I loaded some Nerf up. I went there 10 or 15 or 20 years ago because I was part of a comic book collective for Gold Digger, the comic book, and the artist Fred Perry was there, and because he was in Toronto, a whole contingent of the comic book fan base was there, so I got to meet a whole bunch of my friends who I had known online at this convention. But I don't actually go to conventions for Artist Alley or Autograph Alley. What I do go to conventions for is because of the culture. I'll go there because I like to dress up like a nerd. I'll go there because it's the best place to get nerd ephemera, so I can actually get a painting of Samus from Metroid. I can get a plushie of Zelda, some perler sprites of Mario, and I can get any number of items and swag that it's almost near impossible to get at any other place because there are no geek shops. So a really cool t-shirt, that's where you get it. Video games, that's where you go. DVDs, anime, manga, you name it. It's this reason that I like to go to conventions solely as a shopper for the things that I'm interested in, not necessarily for the people who attend.
You know, if I can add to that, that's really what makes up for the bad experiences, is that culture and that environment where I can go with my daughter and we can get, like you said, Bryan, flyer freak flag from flyer nerd flag, and just be who we are and be amongst our people. And you know, and you can find those things exactly like you were saying that you want to buy that you can't find anywhere else, and nobody's judging you at that point. You are who you are. I love that.
And to add to that, you get to experience parts of your own self that you hadn't experienced prior. At the convention I was at 3 years ago, roughly, the Ontario Ghostbuster Club was there, and I thought, these are guys who have created a hobby and are dressing up like Ghostbusters, full-on gear. In fact, they've replicated many of the items from the film, if not purchased.
Actually, they deserve a shout out because they do tons of charity work for nonprofits. And so a big shout out to them.
And I didn't know that I had an inner Ghostbuster within me, and hanging out with these people.
Who are you going to call? Howie.
Yeah. Also, if we're talking about that, also the 501st.
Yes.
They do a ton for derbies.
They should get a shout out as well for doing a lot of good charity work.
You go to these conventions and you might be there for a, oh look, it was Sheridan from Babylon 5. I've always wanted to meet him. But you actually go there and you experience the culture and the people, and you're surrounded by people who are just like you, and it's really fun.
Yeah, yeah. I have an experience where usually you show up to a fan expo or a Comic-Con as a fan and then meet the people. I had actually the reverse experience where I became a fan at Comic-Con. I think it was it was Ottawa. I believe it was Ottawa Comic-Con last year. I was a little disappointed. Alan Ruck was supposed to be there. You might remember him. He was Cameron in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He's been in a lot of things, but and I kind of wanted his autograph, and he canceled like a couple days before. And in his place, because I guess they had an empty spot now, at the last minute they got Karen Parsons, who played Hillary on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and is also in one of my favorite movies, The Ladies' Man, with Tim Meadows.
No judging here in this room.
That's right. This is the judgment-free zone.
I actually agree with him on Ladies' Man.
Ladies' Man's pretty good.
Ladies' Man is a good film.
It's good.
Best of the Saturday
what is it, Bryan?
It's good.
Nice.
It's good. So anyway, she was there, and I never... I mean, I liked her fine, but I never considered myself a fan, so to speak. But I was there, and I saw her in the autograph alley, and there was nobody around. Because I guess she's not really like a sci-fi or you know, those sort of genres, and so there weren't a lot of people in her line, and she was sitting there with somebody, I guess her assistant or whatever, just kind of like resting on her hand, and just kind of like, oh, there's nobody here. Why did I come all the way to fucking Ottawa for nothing? And I was like, you know what? I'm going to go get an autograph from her because I think Ladies' Man is cool and she's pretty cool. So I went up to meet her. And because there was nobody around, I got to chat with her a little bit, and I asked her about the Ladies' Man. I got an autograph. We had a little chat, and she was totally delightful. And she's like, not like the Hillary character that a lot of people know. Well, obviously, that's just a character, but you tend to associate them with people. She is like the super coolest lady, and she also runs a non-profit called Sweet Blackberry, which produces animated films for kids about Black history. And I do work in history education, and so we had that in common. We could talk about it a little bit, and she said that they were going to do a Kickstarter coming up pretty soon and everything. So that was great. I chatted with her for a good 15 minutes. And then I was a fan, because she was like super cool. And I went to her Q&A, and there was nobody at the Q&A. I felt really bad. There was
How many people were there,
like
Bryan?
20 people.
And you were one of them? Good for you.
I was one of them. And I saw that there weren't many people, so I sat in the very front, like just a couple feet away, and I asked lots of questions because I was afraid, I didn't want her to be embarrassed that nobody was there. So I asked a lot of questions, and I asked questions about her Kickstarter and, you know, whatever. And And then on Twitter, I wrote like, oh, I tagged her. I was like, oh, I met Karen Parsons. She was cool, and she writes back because she's, you know, she's a celebrity, but she's not Tom Cruise. Like she answers her own emails, right? And when she did the Sweet Blackberry Kickstarter, I got in like within the first half an hour of it coming up, and then she wrote me an email back and was like, oh my god, I remember you from Comic-Con, and it's so great that you're here. And I'm like, wow, I have like a correspondence with a celebrity from Comic-Con. I think I win.
Yeah, you win.
You know what I mean?
You win the internet.
I kind of win the internet a little bit because and she asked me to help out a little bit with in a small way with the Kickstarter, and I was trying to promote it, and she was like, yeah, that's really cool, and she gave me the thumbs up, and so I had that experience, and I was not, like I said, I wouldn't have said I was a fan before, but now I'm like, you know what, she's super cool, and I'm going to follow her, and I have her picture right behind me here on the wall, her autograph.
Yeah, just look over Bryan's shoulder, everybody.
Yeah, I'm going to take a picture.
Here, let me get that for you, Bri.
There we go. There's my Karen Parsons autograph. Anyway, so that was my experience, and that's the kind of thing I think that is the best thing about cons, is the connections that you make with people. Because you realize that some of these people that are sometimes bigger than life are just people.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They don't really fight zombies or fly or whatever. They're just dudes or women. You know, what do you call it? What's the female equivalent of a dude?
Dudette.
Dudette.
Is dudette or is it chick?
I say
Dudes
dudette.
and chicks?
I say dude.
All right, whatever. Men and women from cons, they're just people, right? And that's really cool. So that's my experience anyway. Does anybody have a favorite con?
Well,
I think we kind of ragged on Fan Expo quite a bit.
Really, Fan Expo is the only con I've been to.
Oh, I see. You've been more than once, though, right?
Oh, yeah, I've been... For the past 4 years, I've been going to Fan Expo, and...
I think the only one I've ever attended is Anime Expo.
Okay. Is that Anime North?
Yes, Anime North, thank you.
Oh, okay. I've never been to that one, but I understand it, because I'm not really into anime, but I understand there's a lot more than just anime. Is that right?
Yeah. It seems as if it truly is very similar to any of the fan expos, comic expos. It's just got a little bit more anime theme, and the cosplay is definitely anime heavy.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've seen pictures from that one there, and it's a lot of anime. Okay, I got a question.
Yeah.
What con would you love to go to?
That I haven't been to?
That you haven't been to?
San Diego.
Oh, okay, wait. Excluding
San Diego?
Comic-Cat
I would love to go back to Montreal.
Okay.
I would love to go to Montreal. I loved Montreal. It was gentle. It was civil. It was accessible. But it's too far for me to go.
Yeah. You know what? My experience, my favorite con has been Niagara Falls Comic-Con. It's in the spring, and I went there last year, and I couldn't believe how well run it is. So if you happen to be listening, Niagara Falls people, congratulations for running an excellent con. Like Nahanni said, you need space. Although there were lots of people, it was set up such that you could move around. There was lots of space. The food was not too expensive. It's right down in the middle of Niagara Falls, so there's restaurants everywhere. The hotels are cheap. It was, and they had a really good guest list, and I have nothing but good things to say about that.
You know what? To replace Montreal, I go to Niagara Falls because it is like my second favorite.
Yeah.
It really is. It's lots of space, the civility, and that's what it is. It's about civility.
You're right, and it's a little bit of respect for the attendees.
That's right.
Which other cons, some cons don't have. They just pack them in. They try to get as much money as they can.
Yeah.
And you know what? That's fine if you want to do that, but I don't have to go.
See,
I think one of the best, it's not quite a con, but it's very similar, is the Sudbury Film Festival.
Okay. Yeah. That's a kind of convention.
You do meet a lot of, you're there with people who, for the most part, love movies. Not all of them. Sometimes people like all the kinds of crazy things that should never have seen the light of day. But you do get some of the celebrities or people from the films there, and they're always thrilled to talk to the audience who's just seen their movie, and it's and especially in Sudbury, and it's a shout out to the Sudbury people. They go out of their way to try and make sure that the people who come to the festival have a good experience. And I remember one year they had, I think it was a Ukrainian film. I forget the title of it. It was a war film, and a number of the local population, it's quite a large Ukrainian population up that neck of the woods, didn't understand the ticket system fully, thought that just because they had a general admission ticket they were guaranteed to get in. Showed up quite close to seating start time and had no seats available. Now, there were actually close to 100 people who could not get into that screening.
Wow.
And the Sudbury folks managed to arrange a second screening, and this was a film that could only be run through one of the theaters. They can now stream them through several theaters. But, they made sure that these folks had an opportunity to see it, and they went that extra mile. They totally didn't have to. They did. They take very good care of folks who come up to that festival. But it shows
respect for the people who are there.
Like, they really do. And they do know that the folks who are there are also very cinema knowledgeable. And when you do get people with the film, you can talk and interact with them. And they're really quite interested to get feedback from the audience.
Do they dress up like their favorite film characters? So we find someone dressed up like Scarface?
Sadly, no. Although, when I go next year, maybe I'll
do a little cosplay.
Yeah,
little Peter Greenaway cosplay.
Yeah,
no, that's just naked.
Yeah, yes, the American question.
I'm the dead guy from Reservoir Dogs. Can't you tell?
I'm Kevin Costner from The Big Chill.
Yeah. I want to give the last word to Nahanni because you attend the cons with your daughter.
Yeah.
I also have a daughter, but she is too young to go to cons, so I can't really speak to it. But when you go to cons with your daughter, why? Clearly, you go because it's a special thing for you guys to do together. What do you say to other parents who might be considering taking their kids to a con?
The first thing I tell them is to make sure they understand safety.
Okay.
Because a lot of kids, we're from a smaller community, all of us.
Yep.
And we all, if we have children, bring up our children in a smaller community where we feel a little safer about our children wandering from us. So it's important. And then safety is the first thing, right? But other than that, I tell a lot of parents, it's a place for your kids to feel free to express themselves. It's okay for them to like Star Wars and things that are not their other cohorts in the classroom may not like, and they might find a home there. It's a place for them to feel confident about the things that they like as small geek kids. And I think it's been one of the best experiences I've ever had with my daughter. And, we look forward to the next con. We talk about the last cons we've been to, and we continue to look online for what we're going to do next. What costume we're going to dress up in, and what comic book we're going to read next and put into our pull box at our comic book store. And, I think I sought a long time for something that my daughter and I could do together because she's different than me, and that's something we have in common, and I think that's really cool, and I hope other parents can use that. Yeah, to have good experiences and build good memories with their kids.
Well said.
That's great.
Now, if I can give a little shout out.
Absolutely.
Because we're allowed to give shout outs here. And I think it's totally cool.
Kinda.
I was looking on Webcrawler. No, I'm just kidding.
Everybody uses Bing now, honey.
I'm sorry.
Geez.
Is Webcrawler out now?
I don't know.
Okay. I do have Dogpile too. Anyway, what I was going to say was I went to that Saturday, and I went there to meet one of my favorite writers in comic book world, Garth Ennis.
Ooh.
And he had to cancel that day. And I want to put a shout out to Big B Comics because they ordered in an Earth comic for me signed by him because they know I missed that day.
Wow.
And they put it in my pull box and had it as a gift for me the day I went into my comic book store.
That's awesome.
So that makes Big B right up there. Wow. My hands like way above my head, above my 5'2" head. For Big B Comics because I think they're the best comic book store.
Wow. Nice. Yeah. That's in Barrie, right?
That's in Barrie.
The Barrie
Dunlop Street in Barrie?
No, it's Essa
Road, excuse me. Essa Road,
as
well as they have stores in Hamilton and
Niagara Falls.
Really, really quick to add to that, does anyone else have any shout-outs for anyone who's done a convention and excelled, gone above and beyond?
Rooster Teeth. I haven't been there, but I want to go. Yeah. That's one of my big conventions I want to do. They do a really good job.
Penny Arcade.
PAX.
Yep.
Yes, I want to go to PAX.
Yeah,
PAX is good. I want to thank Sylvester McCoy. I went to a Q&A with him in, I think it was Niagara Falls, and he moderated his own panel and walked around the crowd, like in the aisles and like in the seats and everything, and he went right up with the microphone himself.
Did he ask you a question, Bryan?
He didn't ask me any questions, but
did you feel touched though?
But he was so close, and that's the kind of connection, and I think he kind of went above and beyond because I don't think a lot of people would want to be that close to people for safety, but he doesn't care. He's freaking Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Hasselhoff. My brother and I caught the last half an hour of his panel because we were going for, it was George Takei was doing his panel next.
Yeah.
And he actually sat there, explained everything that happened, you know, throughout his career, and he was shocked that the German people love his music. And he actually started sitting there and he started singing. And like there were people that were sitting there and he actually went, "Why are you acting this way?" He's like, "Well, we came from Germany just to see you." And he pulled them up on stage and sat them on stage with him for the rest of the convention.
That's great.
And then, same story, Howie. George Takei talked, you know, we only caught, his panel was at the end of the show and we had to go back and help Big B shut down. So we only caught the first half hour of it. But him just explaining everything that he went through to get to where he was, being, you know, an Asian immigrant and being going in a concentration camp during World War II and growing up there and then being gay.
Right.
Having to be a gay actor, that just, all that stuff.
Really quickly, shout out to Randy Milholland and Danielle Corisado. I apologize for butchering your name, for doing Couch Con. For anyone who has not been able to attend a convention for whatever reason, be it money, disability, distance, for whatever reason, these webcomic artists started up something called Couch Con, which takes place basically on Google Hangouts.
Great.
And
Nice.
you get to sit at home and watch as these webcomic artists, creators, do a round panel through a full weekend 2-day session of various topics, and you get to just watch it for free on your couch. So CouchCon, definitely check that out.
Great.
I've got one last one. Shout out to the Simcoe County Avengers, Ed and Stephanie. They've started doing a lot of charity work,
Right.
just like the Toronto X-Men and the Ghostbusters.
Great.
My shout out, Ruggiero Diodato.
Whoa, nice.
Don't always get to meet your heroes. He was awesome, even though we kind of had to work through his translator. And keep the dream alive. Cannibal Holocaust 2, Electric Boogaloo. Make it happen.
That seems like a good way to end this.
Yeah.
What are your convention experiences? Good or bad? Do you have anything to add to what we've said? Maybe you think some of us are assholes? Let us know right here in the comments. Or you can find us on Twitter at CRPodcast or info at catlikereflexes.com if you use email like a Morlock. And of course, you can find all the information and find all our podcasts on catlikereflexes.com, and we're also available through iTunes.
And I think we have a Facebook page too, maybe.
Well, yeah, that's right. We do have a Facebook page as well.
Dive on
So if anybody's mom wants to find out about our podcast, you can go on to Catlike Reflexes. Just search for us on Facebook. And let us know what you think. Let us know about your cons. Maybe you run a con. Are you somebody who runs a con? Let us know your experience, because that's...
Do you want us to come to your con?
Is it a long
Send us
con?
the
Yeah,
tickets.
you want Catlike Reflexes to come to
Yes.
your con? Let us
We
know.
could be special
We
guests.
travel.
We can be special guests.
that's
We have
right.
cars.
I fit in a trunk.
Yeah.
It's true, he
He
does.
does too. He does.
Yeah.
It's true. Funny and
Totally
true.
does.
So,
man.
so thank you very much. Let us know what you feel, and I hope you enjoyed
That's it.
Catlike Reflexes.
Bring back the Aqua Manager. Where's the Aqua Manager?